Well, it's this time of the year, and as you know, the cold weather is coming in, and it's gonna get colder and colder here in my zone. There's no going back. So I'm all here just to show you how I prepare for the winter months to take care of my chickens and what I do to provide adequate conditions for them so that they would remain healthy. Now first it's going to be a lot of cleaning, and this area here is the chicken coop where I housed this year meat birds and also turkeys that I raised for meat. And so it's all wet because I sprayed it down, so all the junk on the floor and areas in here could be soaked up and loosen up off the wood. And I'm going to take this broom and scrub it out. And then I'm going to give it a nice wash down so all this junk here is removed and the area is nice and clean to prevent any sicknesses or diseases before I house the chickens, the layers back in here in this area. And if you notice, even the walls, the standing walls and the roofs, everything is just soaked with water, just water. Even up to the ceiling, the nest box, everything is going to be thoroughly clean to make sure that my flock stays healthy. Because ain't nothing like having a sick flock. You may have one sick bird, and whatever it is, whether it's parasites or virus or so, it may lead to the rest of the flock becoming ill, and then I would lose my entire flock. It's never happened to me, but I've seen and heard enough stories of people's flocks, and I want to make sure I put in all the work and make that sacrifice to make sure my birds stay healthy. So after cleaning out the coop, I would allow this area to sit for a couple weeks just to air out and for the wood to thoroughly dry. And then I would allow for the chickens to, the layer chickens to re-enter this space and utilize it during, especially during the winter months. During the spring till the fall, I raise all my meat birds in here, whether it's Cornish game hen, whether it's my Cornish cross or turkeys. I raise them in this area. I do allow for free ranging, and they're out of this area where they can, just roam outdoors. But I house them in the space, which is 10 by 6. And quite frankly, it was built for up to 30 chickens to be housed in this coop. Now, while I'm doing this cleaning, I must stress on the importance of wearing safety gear like a pair of gloves and also a mask, because the residue from the ammonia in the urine and feces from these birds, and even from the dust that accumulates in here over the few months they were housed in here, can be also dangerous for your health, for you to inhale, for you to go into your lungs. It can cause harm over time. So it's a must that we wear our safety equipment. And while I'm cleaning out the coop here, the other chickens, the layers, are in the outdoor run, enjoying themselves. They're pecking around. I did give them a treat so that they'll stay out there. I closed the door on them so that way they're not getting wet from the water that I'm using here. And I chose to do this on a nice, bright, sunny day. I looked at the weather forecast and I decided to, give it a good spray down today. And I have a couple consecutive days where I'm going to have adequate sunlight and warmth so that the area would dry properly and I can rehouse these layers back in this area. So as you can see, I'm hitting the ceilings. I have some styrofoam there to block out some of the cold air during the winter months. And I'm going to wash even the windows, wash everything down nice and clean, because the dust really accumulates in this area. When you're raising chicken, there's going to be a lot of dust. And hence the reason why I would always advise against raising chickens indoors, because this is from my experience. When I first started raising chickens years and years ago, I was worried more about the cold for the baby chicks because I received them when they're always 2 days old. And so I was really worried that it will be too cold outdoors for them. Even though I had heat lamps set up, I just thought they were too tiny to be outdoors in the harsh winter. And so I had them indoors for about a couple weeks, guys. And I'm telling you, I had to put them out. They had to go outside, because it's not like I didn't have the coop out there already for them. It's just that, I figured I'll be able to check on them more often if they're indoors, and they would be safer. They would be more protected indoors. But it's a no for me. I would never do that again. It's not healthy for the chickens, and it's not healthy for us to inhale, especially in a situation where there is minimal ventilation. All right, now everything is nice and clean from top to bottom, even the nest box and the roosts. The windows and the door is going to stay open so that this area could dry out properly and thoroughly, and it can air out for a couple weeks until I'm ready to introduce these new layers in this new space. All right, now it's been about 10 days since I have, 10 to 12 days, I believe, since I have cleaned out the chicken coop, and I'm out here grabbing some dried leaves. These are dried oak leaves mainly, whatever blew through it, whether it's maple or whatever. They're in here too, but it sure does make for nice dry bedding for these chickens. So I'm going to just gather them up and I'm going to add them to the chicken coop so the chickens can leave their droppings in it while they roost at nighttime. And I'm just going to start with this one 30-gallon trash can, and over time I'll be adding more leaves because I use the deep litter method during the winter months. And a container this size holds a lot of dried leaves, especially when you just push it in there and you pack it in real tight. So that's what I did with these leaves, because I have an abundance of leaves that I can add in here for the chickens. They scratch around in it. I throw sometimes their scratch grain or their winter mix in it, and they just scratch around, feast on it, and they enjoy this natural environment that's provided for them. So I'm just gonna spread this all around in here, and do you see how much leaves that this one container holds? And like I said, that's all I'm gonna be using for starts, and add more leaves as the season go along. Now this door right here, I'm gonna be moving that, and this was just for extra ventilation. I have the original door right here, but I'm going to be removing this door. Just take it off the hinges. There's 3 little hinges right there. I'm just going to take that off the hinge and remove that door. And as you can see here, the entire flooring of the coop is filled with leaves from corner to corner. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove the door because we don't need it now. We don't need that extra ventilation. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the screws to take the door off its hinges. Then I can remove the door. And guys, as you can see, I'm doing this by myself. It doesn't take a whole lot to be this handy. If you have someone that can help you and you can team up with to do this type of work, it's simple work. It's not rocket science. And I learned a lot, and I've been able to do a lot around here by myself. So thanks to my hubby, we work as a great team. He tells me all the time that I'm a great helper when we work together. And so I did learn a lot from him, and I'm able to do quite a bit by myself, whether it's with power tools or manual tools. All right, so now I've removed that door. And right here we have some chicken wire that I covered the nest box with, so that way the meat birds or the turkeys couldn't get in there. And so I'm going to remove that now using this hammer, because we put it up there using nails. And this chicken wire is also on the opposite side covering the nest box, so I'm going to remove that also, and I'm going to prepare the nest box so the chickens can go in there and lay, and I'll show you how I do that. So stay tuned. All right, now the chicken wire has been removed. I'm going to go ahead and put a coating of diatomaceous earth at the base of the nest box. And I'm going to do it on both sides. Whatever you see me do here, I'm going to definitely be doing it on the other side. So I'm going to spread that out. And then you're going to see me place in the nest box. And this is just to deter the bugs that may crawl in there. And just simply a preventative measure for keeping any external parasites away. And now that these nest pads are in place and the nest box are nice and cozy, I'm going to add some of my own homegrown organic marigold in here in these nest box. And I grew these from seeds, harvested them, dried them up, and store them so that way I can use it in my chickens feed. I can add it in the coop, in the run, in their nest box, you know, just as a preventative measure, because these have a lot of benefits for humankind and also for these chickens. So I give it to my chickens, and it keeps the nest box nice and fresh. There is a mix actually that you can purchase, which also includes marigold and lavender and all that herbal stuff that you can actually grow. And this is some fresh lavender I just harvested from my lavender bush because it is doing the most in the fall. So I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of this in here. All of this is actually going to go into the coop area, because I'm going to hang that bunch But some of these leaves and flowers, I'm going to drop it into the nest box just to freshen it up, to encourage the chickens to come in here, because this is a new area for the new chickens. And I just want them to be comfortable and to be able to trust the area, the new area, and get used to it. So I'm going to create that natural environment and make it as inviting and comfy for these birds to enjoy. Now, there are so many things I can do with these herbs, and I can either put it on the floor in the coop, and they'll enjoy that too. They'll scratch around and peck around in it, because when I free range my chickens, they head to my herbs and they'll be picking on the leaves. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and do the opposite side of the nest boxes. I'm going to do the same thing you saw me do on the first side. Make sure I put the diatomaceous earth down first. Then I'm going to add the nest pads to that and add some herbs on top of the nest box. And voila, that part is done. And as you can see, I did add some of the fresh lavender to the floor of the coop. And I'm going to line the coop with diatomaceous earth, putting some in the creases just to deter the bugs again. And mind you, the chickens would come in here and they would literally try to dust bathe in these leaves, because they've done it before. That's what they do. They like dust bathing, and they would come in here and they'll dust bathe. So that way the diatomaceous earth will get into their feathers and it will keep the bugs off of them. I'm going to add some to the roost here, as you can see I'm doing. So when they're roosting, that way you can keep bugs like mites away from these birds so they can remain healthy, because the health and well-being of these chickens are my #1 priority. It's much easier for me to take precautions and keep these birds healthy than to try to figure out what's going wrong with them and what is the issue that I may or may not be able to fix once they become ill. Now, for some reason, I've always liked seeing a piece of natural wood. When I say wood, like a tree branch. And this has been here for years. So I'm going to fasten this roost. It's going to be a roost, but a natural piece of wood, like a branch from a tree, for these chickens to roost on. It's just something that I enjoy doing. They have no issues roosting on the wood that came from the store, which is also natural wood. But at the same time, I just enjoy seeing natural wood, because I've seen chickens roost in trees before. I grew up seeing chickens roost in trees, not having any housing. And that's just a natural thing for them to do. So I just simply have this natural addition here for them. I guess it's more for my satisfaction, because I enjoy seeing a natural piece of tree branch in here. So now I'm just going to screw this into the piece of wood and make sure it's strong enough for them to roost on it. All right, so I'm going to add a second screw in here and make sure it's strong enough. And I'm going to add 2 more screws right here on the opposite side, because for some reason the chickens like to accumulate in one area on the roost. And if this is the case, then I have to make it strong enough. And this feels pretty strong already, but I'm just going to add the second screw in here and make sure that it's really sturdy, so that when the chickens decide to roost up there, or if they decide to roost up there, it would be strong enough to take the weight of the birds. Another thing I like to do is install a thermometer, make sure the battery is good. So I already changed out the battery in this one, and I'm going to install it right here in the chicken coop. Whether it's winter or summer, I like to know what the temperature of the coop and the indoor run is. So I've always installed one in the coop and also in the indoor run. So I just removed the back piece of the thermostat, and I'm going to screw this into the wood first, and then I'll attach the face onto the back and complete the process. So I'm just going to screw this in like so. And sometimes you need an extra hand, but gee, I've been able to figure it out. And just like this, I screwed the back in with the 1 screw, and I'm just going to attach, and you can see the temperature is already showing on there. I'm just going to attach this in the right slots. There are grooves that it will fit into, so I just press it right into the back piece of the thermostat, and then the job is complete. So you've seen me install the thermostat. I've cleaned out the entire coop and prepped it for the chickens for the winter. I put the leaves down. I cleaned out the nest box, the windows. I've even hanged some lavender, some fresh lavender. So that's going to stay right there and dry. It's going to add a nice scent to the coop, and the chickens are going to enjoy it. Now I need to just cut that excess piece of wood that's hanging there off that roost. And my job right here in the coop is complete. So I'm just going to remove this using my handy mini chainsaw, and that's it. Now stay tuned for part 2, because I'll be showing you the complete and thorough process where I winterize my run to keep my chickens safe for the colder months. Thank you as always for coming and for your support. And don't you forget to give the video a thumbs up. And if you feel so inclined, please go ahead and share. And hopefully it will help push this video to an audience that need this information. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again on the next upload.